Kindness and the trap of being agreeable. You have spent your whole life being consistent, soft in your words to avoid hurting anyone, saying yes when something inside you was screaming no. You have made yourself smaller, quieter, more accommodating. And you told yourself that was the right thing to do. But look around. The people you actually respect, they are not the ones who always agreed with you. They had opinions. They stood their ground. They said difficult things. Here is what most people confuse their entire lives. Kindness and weakness are not the same thing. Marcus Aurelius never wrote, "If something might make someone uncomfortable, stay silent." He wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That is the difference between someone genuinely kind, acting from deep values, and someone weak, pretending to be nice. A person who respects themselves does not need to appease everyone to be liked. They act on what they believe, then let others respond however they will. That is the actual difference. That is what real attractiveness looks like. The inner foundation, what everyone senses but cannot name. Epictetus was born a slave, yet he became one of the most influential teachers of his era. He said something simple: "No one is truly free except the person who is master of themselves." Think about that. If your smile depends on the approval of whoever is standing in front of you, you are not free. You are managed. People feel this without being able to name it. They recognize when someone has no flaw beneath them, and they do not respect it. They may like it in the moment your accommodations make things easy, but respect? No. Respect comes from somewhere else entirely. It comes from people who know what they believe, what they will not compromise on, what they will say, even if there is risk. That is the foundation you need to build, not through harshness or coldness, but through clarity, knowing exactly who you are, what you stand for, and what you will not. When you have that, something shifts. You stop apologizing for existing. And people notice the difference immediately. Neediness. What is actually pushing people away? You have heard you need to connect with others. True, but recognize the subtle difference. Real connection does not come from need. It comes from completeness. And strangely, the moment you stop needing anything from people, you become genuinely attractive to them. Remember someone you know, perhaps in their 50s or 60s, who simply does not need your approval. Not rude about it, not cold, but there is something settled about them. They listen without performing. They speak without apologizing for what they think. They can sit in silence without filling it. Being around them feels different. It feels like standing near something solid. That is what Seneca meant. Withdraw into yourself as much as you can, not to become a hermit, but to build an inner life so rich, so rooted, that the outside world loses its power to destabilize you. When you have done that work, when you have genuinely built that foundation, you walk into a room already complete. You are not reaching, not managing impressions, not pulling at people for something, and that creates space. Now people can actually see you. And if you have done honest work on yourself, what they see is someone worth knowing. Stop explaining the power of structured silence. Notice how often you justify your decisions when no one asked. "I cannot make it. I have an appointment," is a complete sentence. But you continue. "Because I have been very busy lately, and I hope you understand." You just asked permission to have a life. Marcus Aurelius did not over-explain. Epictetus did not soften his teaching. Seneca wrote extraordinarily direct letters to a friend, knowing some words would be uncomfortable. Say what is true, then stop. There is a moment most people reach around 40 or 50, sometimes quietly, sometimes after something breaks, where they realize all the accommodating they have done did not make life richer. It made it more crowded with the wrong things, wrong obligations, wrong relationships, wrong versions of themselves worn in different rooms. The realization is not angry, it is just tired. A deep, honest tiredness that says, I have worked very hard to be someone I was never meant to be. The Stoics would say, good, that tiredness is information. Do not medicate it. Do not distract yourself from it. Sit with it long enough to understand what it is telling you. What it tells you is this: you have lived outward too long, measuring yourself by what others reflect back. And that is exhausting, because the reflection is always changing. Two columns, separating what is in your control from what is not. Epictetus returns to this again and again. Divide everything in your life into two columns. First column, your opinions, your values, your choices, your response to what happens. Second column, other people's reactions, their judgments, whether they approve of your decisions. Here is the rule: you are only allowed to work on the first column. This sounds simple. It is not. Most people spend their energy on the second column. They replay conversations wondering how they came across. They change behavior based on signals from people barely paying attention. They build their sense of self on a foundation someone else holds and can move any time. The moment you genuinely transfer your energy to your own column, the moment you stop auditing yourself through other people's eyes, something in your presence shifts. You become less reactive, more deliberate. There is a gravity to that. People notice it even when they cannot name it. This is not about becoming selfish or indifferent. It is about where you direct your limited attention and energy. You cannot control whether someone likes you. You can control whether you are honest. You cannot control their judgment. You can control your integrity. The person who understands this difference is the one who finally becomes powerful. Boundaries are not walls. They are expressions of values. The Stoics did not talk about boundaries as walls you build to protect fragile insides. They talked about them as expressions of what you stand for. You do not decline something because you need self-protection. You decline it because it conflicts with who you are and what matters to you. That is a completely different energy. One comes from fear, the other comes from clarity. A person who says no from clarity is not difficult. They are trustworthy. You always know where they stand. And in a world where most people say yes while meaning no and smile while feeling nothing, that kind of honesty is rare enough to be magnetic. Understand this: saying no from clarity is a form of strength, not an exception to it. It requires you to know what matters, what does not, and to live with the consequences of choosing. That is what Seneca meant when he wrote about the power of self-knowledge. You cannot have real boundaries unless you know what your boundaries are, where you end, and where your obligations begin. A boundary without self-knowledge is just reaction, but a boundary rooted in values, that is power. That is also, ironically, what draws people toward you. Completion is a process, not a destination. There is a question you should ask yourself every morning: who do I want to become today? Not who everyone else wants you to be, who you want to become. Marcus Aurelius did this. Every evening, Seneca reviewed how he had lived, not to punish himself, but to stay honest, to close the gap between who he was and who he intended to be. The most dangerously attractive thing a human being can be is not perfect or finished, but genuinely engaged in their own becoming, rooted enough to be honest, secure enough to be kind without needing it returned, strong enough to be gentle without losing anything. This road is long, but you have already been walking for a long time. The only question worth asking is whether you have been walking in the right direction. Start today. Not with a grand gesture, but with one honest choice. One moment where you do not apologize for what is true. One silence you do not rush to fill. One decision made from your values instead of someone else's comfort. That is where it begins. And it never really stops, because the work of becoming yourself is not something you complete. It is something you practice every single day for the rest of your life.